even watched TV in a long time. I don't even know what I've been doing because I haven't been reading either, clearly. So I'm like, what the fuck do I do with my time? I don't even know.
Hey, it's Sue and Megan in the restricted section.
And today we're going to do our January wrap-up.
Yes, and while we do our January wrap-up, we are going to drink this Onding Imperial Porter from Hungry Hollow Brewing Company.
Which is in Cassville, Missouri. I did not know that they had a brewery there.
Nope, I had no idea.
My grandma lives there.
Well, we might have to go visit your grandma. This tastes good.
And I poured it with a lot of head because that's what you're supposed to do, apparently.
Yeah, I saw this like video about that on the internet, and I've apparently been pouring beer wrong.
I guess. Maybe this much head might be overkill.
I don't know, the guy had a lot of head when he poured on there.
Ooh, it's really smooth. I just got like a nose full of...
You have a head mustache.
A beer mustache.
Beer mustache. Got beer?
Yeah, it's pretty good though.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's a good porter.
Yeah, I'm trying to drink it. I'm trying to drink it without getting a mustache again. Why don't you go first?
Okay, so in January, I read 4 books, and I started with one that I thought would help break me out of my reading slump. So this was the first one I read, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I had seen this movie, but I never read this book. And this also fulfilled my Read Harder challenge for read the first book in a new or new to you YA series.
Or middle grade.
Or middle grade. So yeah, I read this. I thought it was fun. It was a cool little book.
Alright.
I don't know. It was kind of creepy-ish. Like it was a little bit dark, and I don't know. It was kind of cool. I liked it.
Alright. Well, I only read 3 books this month, but one of them was 600 pages, so I feel like it's not terrible.
Oh shit, I read 5 books this month.
Oh, you did?
In January. Yeah, because I read that romance.
Oh yeah, you did.
Fuck me, I read 5 books. Alright, continue.
I only read 3, and I thought I was doing well, and then I was like, fuck, I've only read 3 books this month. What the hell? Also, this month seemed like the longest month.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Because it's like the first book I read, it seems like it's been eons since I read this.
Years ago, when I was a young boy,
I read A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers.
I was younger then.
Was the first book I read in 2018.
Yes.
And this is the sequel to The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
What did you think?
I really like this book. I don't want to say too much about the characters because knowing who one of them is kind of spoils a big plot point in the first book. But I will say that this book is not like super closely related to the first book. Like it doesn't follow the same events. It just follows 2 of the side characters.
It's like a spin-off.
Yeah. One of them is sort of trying to, you know, acclimate to a new environment.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yes. And the other one, it flashes back to when she was a child and is in some ways kind of going through a similar, what's the word I'm looking for? A similar experience. Yeah, and I thought it was really good. It kind of has, I feel like, kind of the same themes as the first book of like friendship and family.
Unity.
And, yeah, that kind of thing. I did end up giving this 4 stars. The one thing about this book that really bothered me, that I just really could point out that I disliked, was in the parts where it flashes back to Pepper's childhood. It overuses the word real.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed that.
Well, she'll say, and I mean, she's a kid, so maybe Becky Chambers did that, but I feel like nothing changed about the writing style except
the
for
overuse of the word
where
real.
She would say like, oh, it was real bad, like instead of really.
Yeah.
But it was constant saying, oh, it was real good, it was real bad, it was real this and real that. And that got annoying to me.
That's fair.
But that's only in her childhood. Like, she doesn't talk like that as an adult.
Right.
So I feel like maybe it was
her way of like
writing
showing
like
how
a child
speaks or
but
something.
I'm like, I feel like because she's 10 years old. And I mean, she
That's
did have an
people
unconventional childhood, so who knows how much education she received or anything.
Right.
But, you know, I feel like a 10-year-old would have, you know, another word in her vocabulary, like maybe very.
Right. Right, or super.
Or could say really instead of just real all the time.
Yeah, I feel like a 10-year-old would probably be a little bit more eloquent than...
Yeah,
than
and
that.
I mean, we say that sometimes too. We're like, well, it was,
Oh,
real
real bad.
real bad.
Yeah, but we usually
we're saying it like as a joke.
Facetiously, yeah.
So that's the only thing that like really bothered me about the book. Other than that, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I did like it.
Yeah, no, I don't, like plot-wise and character-wise, yeah, I guess I would say I liked the first one a little bit better. I liked the characters in the first one.
Me too.
More.
Alright, so the next book that I read in January was White Oleander by Janet Fitch, which fulfilled my Read Harder challenge to read an Oprah's Book Club book, which this one is. It's got the seal and everything. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and Sue, actually, you told me that you loved this book.
I love that book.
I really, really, really liked this, but it fucked me up.
I remember reading that book, which it was years ago, and that book has stuck with me, which is rare. But it was probably, it's probably been 7 or so years ago that I read that book. And I remember, after I read it, thinking, I don't know if I liked that. And then like a week later, I just kept thinking about it, and I was like, no, I fucking loved it. Like, it was so good.
I really liked this, but like, oh shit, man, it fucked me up. But I thought there were like a lot of really interesting things about like being a woman and womanhood and motherhood and the relationships between women, but god damn,
It's a fucked up book.
I had like a hardcore like emotional book hangover when I finished this, but the writing in it is like beautiful too. Like I thought the writing was really nice, but
yeah.
Whew, I think I gave that one like 4 out of 5 stars, but it's probably more like 4.5 stars for me, I think.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention that this fulfilled my Read Harder challenge of reading a sci-fi novel by, is it by and about a female?
By or
With a
about, I think. Or no, by a female
with a
author
female-
with a female protagonist. Something like
So,
that.
yeah. This has 2 female protagonists.
Done, son.
A female. But the third book I finished was actually this one.
Indeed.
The Alienist by Caleb Carr, and that one took me a while to get through, and partly because it's a very long book and it's kind of tedious, but also like I had a whole fiasco with I had downloaded it on my boyfriend's Kindle, and then I took it with me I went to San Diego for a business trip and left it on the first plane I was on. And it's gone. Like, I'm probably never getting it back. I filed a lost item report, but the only updates I've gotten are, we still haven't found your item, but whatever. My boyfriend wasn't mad because he doesn't really use it anymore anyway. It's like a really old 2012 Kindle. So I was, at that point, I think about halfway through the book, and then I was pissed because I lost it. I lost the Kindle, and so then I downloaded it on my phone, so I paid for the fucking thing twice. And then I read the rest of it on my phone, and that was a mistake because my phone's just way too distracting to read on. And so I enjoyed the first half of this book, but not so much the second half, and I wonder if it's partly because of the fact that I lost my Kindle and was like pissed about it, and then was reading it on my phone. I don't know.
Like that.
But anyway, the book is about an alienist, which is like a psychologist, set in the late 1800s. And they're trying, with the help of
Like
a journalist,
crime reporter?
yeah, the journalist is the narrator, and then you've got the alienist, and then there's a woman who's like trying to become a detective, but you know, she's a woman. So she's a secretary. And they're trying to find out who is committing these murders. Someone has been killing and mutilating young boys, like children who are prostitutes. Yeah, like I said, I kind of felt about it. I think I gave it 3 stars because I was just...
That's what I gave it.
like halfway through the book, I really was just like, I just want it to be over. Like I was like, just tell me who the killer is, and I'm done with it. So
yeah, I felt the same way. It was just really tedious. There were a lot of like extraneous details that I really didn't need. Like I can tell that the author put in his research about New York at the time that this was written, because he put in a shit ton of details about various different places, and I mean down to the menu of different restaurants.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't fucking care, homie. Like, just tell me who killed the boys.
Yeah.
Just please tell me. I don't care what they ate for dinner.
I don't know, like this genre is generally not my favorite either. Just like crime novels.
It's not my jam either.
So I think it probably just wasn't for me, because I know a lot of people really enjoy this book.
I didn't dig it too much either.
Yeah.
So, don't have to talk about that one. Don't know. So the next book that I read was Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. This is a second book, like a duology when it's two?
Yeah, I think so.
Parable of the Sower was the first one, and this was the second one. So this is about a woman who, it's kind of in like a post-apocalyptic world. I mean, there was a plague, and you know, the economy's to shit, and everyone's living in, or most people are living in extreme poverty. And this woman creates her own religion called Earthseed. And basically the premise of the religion is just that God is change. And change is inevitable, and we can kind of shape and mold change and whatever. And so this is about her community that she's set up. She's kind of set up a little like survivors community who all, you know, believe in her religion. And so it's about that and how they do in this post-apocalyptic shithole. I love Octavia Butler, and I loved this like duology. It was so fucking good. And it said a lot of things about religion and Christianity specifically that I am on board with. So not positive things, obviously, but yeah, it was just brilliant. And there was a candidate. What really fucking tripped me out about this book is I think that Octavia Butler is a prophet. Because there was a candidate in this book who was running for president, and it sounded exactly like fucking Donald Trump. Like exactly like Donald Trump. So... oh, like literally, he says, this is a quote from the presidential candidate. Leave your sinful past behind and become one of us. Help us to make America great again. He also like doesn't like brown people or people of different religions. So, I mean, there's that also. Right. But yeah, I marked several passages just because they were eerily relevant to things that are going on today. But yeah, this book also kind of fucked me up a little bit. I cried. I'm not a crier. I cried in this book.
Really?
Yes.
I really want to read that. I need to get to reading more Octavia Butler.
I do and I don't, because like once we're done, we're done, man.
That's true.
And that sucks.
Pace ourselves.
Yeah.
We can always reread them though.
That's true. I just love her. Like, I just love her. Just love her.
Alright, so the last book that I read this month was Xenogenesis by Miriam Allen DeFord. And these are short stories. It says Tales of Space and Time, so they're sci-fi stories. There were a couple that I would probably more call fantasy than sci-fi, about like sentient trees.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
All of these stories have to do with reproduction. I think all of them, pretty much. So they were really interesting. There's a lot of stories that kind of like flipped things on its head. There's one story where like a man is in this world where like females are in power. The last one was really interesting because it was like a countdown. There was like a nuclear bomb. I feel like it was maybe just a test, like a nuclear test. And it like went wrong and the whole world was sterilized. Like everyone was sterilized. So there was no more reproduction.
Shit.
And it happened to all mammals. And so it was like this clock counting down. They're like trying
Once
to
you're done, you're done, man.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So that one was really interesting, and there's a lot of just yeah, things to really make you think about gender roles, reproduction.
That's cool.
So it was really interesting. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. This is another one. I feel like I should just like not read on planes anymore. I don't enjoy what I'm reading because I'm in like such an uncomfortable place.
Yeah, it's like physically impossible to get comfortable on a plane, at least in coach. I've never flown like first class or business class, so I don't know.
Seems great. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that if I had like read these all at home, because I read the first half on a plane.
You just wafted like really nice old book smell at me.
Yeah.
You could do that again.
This book does smell pretty good.
It's
nice. It was published in 1969. And it says, this is an original publication, not a reprint.
Oh, fuck.
So I think it's a first edition.
Well,
I don't know if that matters, because does anyone know? Like, I've never heard anyone talk about this book, so I don't think anyone gives a shit about it. But if you can find it, I do think it's worth reading, because it's got a lot of cool stories that really make you think, and are also just kind of fun to read, because sci-fi shit is always fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The last book that I read in January, I read after I finished The Alienist, so I needed something kind of lighter. So I read, I think is it Haven or Sanctuary? It's the first book in the Beards and Bondage series, or whatever, by Rebecca Witherspoon. And it was for the Read Harder Challenge to read a romance novel by or about a person of color. And Rebecca Witherspoon is an African-American woman, and the woman in the story is black as well. So there we go. It had exactly what you might expect in it. It had beards, well, a beard, and bondage. So it was about what you would expect. I don't love romance novels. I had a good time reading it, but I don't understand, really, I think is what it is, the point of reading them, because they don't do anything for me, if you know what I mean.
It didn't get you even a little bit hot and bothered?
There were some parts...
all those beards?
I mean, if you're beardy, like, I'm about that life, but, like, reading about, like, sexual acts is often awkward for me, because I think sometimes the verbiage is weird. I don't know. Like, it doesn't do a whole lot for me. There were a couple of scenes where I was like, okay. But, okay. But what I liked about it was that it was really big on the consent piece. Like, the two characters in the book had several conversations involving consent. And I thought that was kind of cool. And the male lead, or whatever the fuck, he was very respectful. He was into bondage, and he was the dom.
The dom.
But he seemed very respectful of the female in the story, and, asked her, and they had conversations before they tried things, and talked about what to do if you feel uncomfortable. And so that was something that I really did appreciate, because I think that's important. And so it was actually, I think, more of a true representation of BDSM than some other stories. Yeah. And less rapey.
Right. That's always good.
So, I mean, there's that. I thought that was cool to see in a romance novel, but
yeah, that was all I had. You're really lapping me on the Read Harder challenge. I've only done one.
I'm kicking myself for not finishing it last year is what it is. Like, I fucked up 2017 so badly that, like, I really want to do well in 2018. So I'm like, I'm going to go hard. And like they did in my romance novel. Right. I went hard. And it was satisfying. I'm going to try to finish those challenges.
Yeah, I need to get on it. But I keep, like, being like, I'm going to read the books I want to read this year.
That's what I did last year.
And I feel like that's, like, a good thing, but... Because that's why I read these two, was because I just really wanted to.
Well, that's why
I wanted some female sci-fi, apparently, because I think went hard on that this month.
Yeah, get it. Get it. The only one I read because I, like, really, really wanted to was this one. But I am really glad that I read White Oleander. I was skeptical.
Because it was Oprah's book club?
Yeah, and I'm kind of a snooty snob about that because I don't care for Oprah. But I will give Oprah props because White Oleander was really fucking good. So, I'm sorry that I doubted you, Oprah.
I've read a lot of Oprah's book club books that were really good. Like House of Sand and Fog. That's a really good
own that,
book.
but I haven't read that.
It's really good. Beloved might have been Oprah's book club. I'm not sure.
Think it
I know
was.
several
Now
Toni
that you
Morrison
say
books
that.
have been, but
and that was fucking awesome too.
Oprah was in that movie. Beloved.
Was she? I didn't see
I
that
haven't
movie.
seen it, but she's in it, I'm pretty
Really?
sure. Yeah.
She was in The Color Purple.
Yeah.
Wait.
Is she in both? I'm pretty sure she's in Beloved.
I think she's
Her
in
and
The Color
Danny Glover
Purple
in
too.
Beloved, right?
I want to see that I'm not crazy. Because I haven't seen The Color Purple in a long time.
I don't think I've ever seen The Color Purple, so I wouldn't know, I guess.
It's been like...
She's gonna be in A Wrinkle in Time. Or is that already out? I'm not sure. I don't keep up. Oh, maybe you were right. Maybe I was wrong.
She's in
Beloved.
The Color Purple.
I was getting them mixed up.
Maybe she's in both. I mean...
Because I thought Danny Glover and her were in...
Yeah, she's in both. You were
Okay.
right too. Yeah,
Oh,
she's
they're
in
both
Danny
in
Glover.
both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Alright, should we wrap this shit up?
Let's wrap it up. This beer's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty tasty.
Pretty delicious.
Yeah. If you can find it, which chances are
I
slim,
don't
probably.
know how well distributed it is.
Hungry
but
Hollow Brewing Company.
Give it a go.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, there'll be some links down below where you can find us elsewhere on the internet.
And if you have not subscribed yet, please do.
You should do it. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.